Welcome once again to the 12th noon webinar that we are hosting today, talking to well-known businessman, former mayor of Joburg, Mr. Herman Mashaba, who has held a series of what he calls the People's Dialogues. He's about 3 days away from launching his new political party. I'm not sure if he's going to reveal the name of the party or the colors of the party or the membership of the party. We'll do our best to try and get that information out of him. But one thing for sure, a lot of people are very keen to find out what Herman Mashaba is promising the country and why should people be interested in joining or supporting his political project, the new political party. And without further ado, right away, Herman Mashaba, let me wish you a happy birthday today. I see that on social media, people have been wishing you well and wishing you a happy birthday. So welcome and happy birthday to you.
Thank you so much, Team 61. My goodness, just a few days ago, I was 21. I don't know what happened to the other 40, but I'm grateful really to the Almighty for really giving me this opportunity to get to this stage. As you're aware, I lost my father at the age of 2. He was 42. So I grew up without a father. So at least my kids have got an opportunity to grow up with their father around.
Well, people have shown a lot of interest in this webinar, so I start right away with a question from one of them, Peter Cronier, who says a political party needs leadership, a compelling vision, executable policies, and an alternative to the current government, not just criticism. It is also essential to have a well-functioning organization on the ground. Do you have all that? But especially the grassroots organization. I know you are launching in 3 days' time, but these are the questions that you have applied your mind to, I would like to believe. So what's your answer?
Well, I think, Tim, quite interesting, very, very good, relevant question, because when I made the announcement to resign from the DA and mayorship of the city of Johannesburg on the 21st of October last year, there was an outcry by South Africans asking me to start my own political party. But then my view was, do I have the necessary support? Do I have the mandate to start a political party? Because you can start a political party, few people phoning you, phoning radio stations. I said, let me actually test to see if I do have the support. Firstly, and secondly, I wanted to establish a team whether these people who are asking me to form a political party, do they share the same values and dreams and aspirations for South Africa? So it's for that reason, on the 6th of December last year, we launched what is today known as the People's Dialogue. It's actually an incredible product or brand name that it's only 8 months old, but it's actually one of the well-known brands in South Africa. What happened is, Tim, you know, when I requested my family to give me the funding to fund this dialogue, CODESA, actually, I called it CODESA driven by civil society. And Tim, for me, when I approached my family, I said, if I have 500,000 the people giving me the mandate to form a political party, would be a good number looking at, obviously, the population of South Africa. We were surprised at the end of February when we closed the engagement, 2.4 million South Africans. I was expecting 500,000. I would have been happy with 500,000. 2.4 million South Africans gave us the mandate to form a political party. But secondly, and also more importantly, then South Africans agreed on 5 non-negotiable core values of what this party must stand for. Firstly, to stand for non-racialism. Anyone looking for a racial party, please go somewhere else. And I think this for us, it's not something that we prepare to negotiate. We want a political party that must push and drive to create a non-racial society. Secondly, people are looking for market-driven economy, where the private sector must be the one driving the economy of the country. Government's role is to create a conducive environment for the private sector to play their role in creating economic activity, commercial activity, and employing our people. Thirdly, South Africans wanted to see social justice. Today, South Africa, with the laughing stock of the world, with the most unequal society on earth, fact, the world, as you're aware, the World Bank did the study, I think about 18 months ago, that we became even much more unequal post 1994. What a disgrace for our democratic government. So South Africans are saying, as much as, yes, we want to create an unracial society, we want the free market economy. However, we want to see social justice as part of this. South Africans, fourthly, they're looking for the rule of law. South Africans want to live in a country that is safe, where people respect the laws of the country. Look at today what is really happening, including the other 2 days ago, looking even the World Health Organization being aware of the looting of South Africa of our politicians without consequences, our women being murdered and raped, the murder rate of South Africa. We kill more people violently than countries that are at war. South Africans want the rule of law. Lastly, South Africans, we all agree that we need electoral reform. South Africans are sick and tired. That's why 19 million of them stayed away from voting at the last elections, because they don't really believe that there's a political party that actually it is there for them. So we committed to this principle, including obviously when we launch on Saturday, that our public representatives are going to be elected directly by the communities in every ward. We are not going to wait for electoral reform by parliament, because we know the ANC is not going to be in a hurry to bring this reform. So what we are saying is, as a political party, our public representatives are not going to be elected behind closed doors, are going to be elected by people in the communities.
Well, we already have 14 political parties in parliament as we speak in South Africa. And that's the thing that I think makes people doubtful whether you will be able to achieve some traction and get real support on the ground. And like the question from Peter refers to grassroots support, that how are you going to generate that? I know that you've been very proactive on social media and digitally, you have been reaching out to people, but do you think that you will be different from the 14 parties that are there? That's one question. The second one is that the ANC has been the government for the past 26 years, and it's not been a government on its own. It's been a government because people vote for it. And many people will tell you, they say, I was born ANC, I'll always vote ANC. Who is this Mashaba upstart who thinks that politics is like business? I'm not going to support him. And therefore, people are skeptical and believe that you will really not attract the right amount of support to even form a government or represent people in parliament or in local government.
Well, I think, Tim, let me start first with the ANC. And I think for any South African who's interested in following political developments in this country, if you look at the last 3 elections, ANC is shedding 1.5 to 2 million votes every election. So if you look at last year alone, the last national elections, ANC was voted in by just under 10 million South Africans, whereas 17.5 million South Africans voted, as compared to 18.5 million, just under 19 million. So ANC is not in power because of people who voted for it in power. Because if you look at ANC's support base in 2014, and now you fast forwarded to 2014 to 2019. As I say, moved from 69% to 62%. ANC, you can see it's a dying party, and it's a party obviously being supported by people in the rural areas and so forth. So ANC's support base is fast diminishing. The low-hanging fruits is actually to talk to the 19 million South Africans who did not vote the last 2 elections. And fortunate enough for Tim, with a political party that's going to be launching on Saturday, with a mandate, in written mandate of 2.4 million South Africans. So this just gives you an idea. And I'm sure anyone who's interested to really look at developments in South Africa, you can see the groundwork that Funzi Ngubeni, our Director of Operations, we've got structures. Right now, as I'm talking to you, our registered volunteers throughout the country, close to 60,000. Before even the party is formed, we've already got roughly 60,000 volunteers throughout the country. If you look at, just really look at any social media, even some of the mainstream media reporting about the work that our volunteers are doing in communities on a daily basis, before the party is even launched. So I think if anyone obviously is not just looking at things from a subjective point of view, be objective. We look at the history that we've really created since we launched the People's Dialogue, culminating with the launch on Saturday. So it's exciting. But exciting, is it going to be easy? What's easy in life? Nothing was ever easy in life. Life, it's tough, and life will continue being tough. But at the end of the day, as human beings, God has given us this little brain to assist us to navigate the challenges that we encounter.
Well, you've been in local government before as mayor of Joburg. I want your reaction to the news that we've just had over the past 24 hours that there are 7,000 ghost workers in Tshwane Metro. So I wonder if you think you had ghost workers in Joburg, and why would such a situation arise in the first place, that so many people are on the books of the Metro, and the people in charge of the Metro seemingly are not aware of that fact, that there were so many people earning money but not doing any work, or not properly registered or employed by the city of Tshwane?
I think, Tim, we have failed by the capture of the ANC of our criminal justice system, firstly. And secondly, allowing ANC to dominate the public service with their cadres who are put into jobs not because of what they know, because of who they know. So I think, and I'm sure South Africans are aware how many people are got arrested and fired while I was the mayor of the city of Johannesburg. You remember very well, after I took over, I used to be insulted, being every day in the media, including some people in the media accusing me of paging ANC experienced people. Experiencing what? Experiencing stealing. I can tell you, Tim, we are preparing ourselves for next year's local government elections, and we are. If you think I was paging in Johannesburg, wait until we win some of the municipalities. We have to, with immediate effect, deal with this cadre deployment of the ANC, put in professional people to really deliver services to our people. I've got the experience. The first time around, you can understand, I took over as a mayor, coming from a business background with no direct political experience. But politics, what is it all about? Politics is about service and commitment to service delivery. So I can promise people of South Africa that come 2021, when we remove ANC in municipalities, we're going to contest. Our priority, and we're going to articulate this during the campaign, that we are going to really deal with this cadre deployment of the ANC, so that we put in South Africans who are prepared to really serve society. They must be in positions not because of who they know, they must be in positions because of what they know.
James Francis wants you to respond to this question. Says, can you comment on the impact of the suddenness of your resignation, and whether you think this may have soured your reputation with Joburg people, a city that you managed to win with a very narrow margin, but some people in Joburg feel that you left them in the lurch, and they're wondering why you left the way you did in the first place?
Well, I can tell you, Tim, people who are not happy with me having left are some of the DA people who wanted to work with the ANC to to remove me. But generally, South Africans are happy. It is for that reason, Tim, you can imagine, I was expecting 2.4 million, I was expecting 500,000 people. For me, that was what would have made me to continue with this project. Received 2.4 million submissions. So I think it's unbelievable how people are responsive. People are so happy that I left the DA. And I think, you know, for me, it's really a very sad situation to have really left the DA. But I've explained that. If anyone wants to know the reasons why I left the DA, the entire speech is on Google. You can Google that speech and really see the reasons why I left the DA. Unfortunately, I would not want to really be associated with the DA. Took a difficult decision to be the mayoral candidate because I believed, I thought that DA believed in one South Africa, that believed in addressing the inequalities in our country. And unfortunately, there are some people in the DA were not interested in unseating the ANC. They were not interested in our proper government approach. And it is for that reason that I said, I'm not here to serve political parties. I'm here to serve society. If you don't want me to serve society, I'm happy to give you your party back and move on in my life. And that's precisely what I did.
I've seen some comments on social media and even in newspapers, people saying that you are not black enough, so to speak, because you don't stand for the expropriation of land without compensation, and saying on that basis, let's put it the way they say, that you are a sellout, actually, that you cannot be trusted. You are there to advance the interests of white monopoly capital.
The team, I don't believe in anarchy. So if people believe being black is it is to promote anarchy, they can keep that blackness. I can tell you, fortunate enough, Tim, you can see me. I don't have to really explain to me who I am. People can really see me. You don't even have to have special glasses to be able to see who I am. I'm born like this and a God-given creature. But that does not believe in anarchy. If you look at what happened in Zimbabwe, they've got the land that today they don't even have maize meal. People are starving. Majority of them are all over the country. South Africa, we are flooded with Zimbabwean people who are running away from despots and human rights abusers. So I don't really believe in anarchy. I believe in land restitution based on the constitutional framework of our country. The country allows government to expropriate land, but you do it within the current confines of our constitution. So anarchy, for those who believe in anarchy, let them go out there, try the anarchy somewhere, and see if they'll get the support of the voters.
Alan Long wants to know from you whether you believe in Black economic empowerment and whether you think that it is non-racial. And an additional question that I'd like to add is, since we do have triple BEE in the country, why does it seem like it has not really worked for as many people as one would have thought would be the case by now? So two parts to the question. One is your views on BEE itself. Is it non-racial? And number two, why have South Africans not really seen the benefits of the triple BEE policies?
Look, Tim, I don't think there's any South African who can defend the fact that we don't need redress. We need redress. Over 300 years of apartheid and colonial rule, messy failures of 26 years of ANC with their BEE policies that were there to benefit their corruption and their Al-Qaeda deployment. I think we believe very strongly in redress, and majority of South Africans believe in that, so that we can have an inclusive society. It is for that reason what we are saying is we need to create an unracial society, and you can't create an unracial society without bringing in a question of social justice. But how do you bring social justice? You bring it through encouragement, to creating jobs for the people, creating equal opportunities, not equal results, because you cannot really have predetermined results when you don't create equal opportunities. So what we need to do is to drive towards ensuring that those who were previously excluded from economic activity and so forth must be given opportunities. We've got to invest in our education so that 20, 25 years down the line, we sit with a massive number of the lawyers, accountants, engineers, and so forth. Instead of making few ANC elites, making them billionaires, and actually, even while they're billionaires, they still keep on stealing, even stealing food parcels. So we cannot, and you call this black economic empowerment. I think we need a proper redress where we use incentives for people to understand that we need an inclusive economy. But for that economy and a society to be established, we need, as I say, incentives. We need to invest in our education. We need to encourage South Africans to really work together. And fortunately enough, Tim, I've got experience from the 90s when I started my production business, manufacturing business in the mid-80s, working with all South Africans. For me, Tim, when I started my business, I was a trader. I was a trader, but you ask yourself, in January of 1985, to start a manufacturing business in Garankuwa, in a 200 square meter factory. How did I make it? I brought in all South Africans. I brought in a white Afrikaner, Johan Kriel from Boksburg, to join me as our manufacturing director. A few years later, I brought in an Indian guy who was running his own accounting firm to be our finance director. So I've got experience of working with South Africa against all odds. At the time, you remember, Tim, when I started my business, the apartheid government would not allow us as black people to start businesses. But I started business and had everyone. I had by late 80s, before the collapse of apartheid and the Soviet Union, I had the 6,000 square meter factory right in Mabopane, employing all South Africans, having white, Indian, and everyone coming every day to work in our communities, having a factory supplying products throughout the entire Southern Africa. People from Mabopane walking to their factory. People seeing economic activity and industrial activity, not today where we see even spaza shops are taken over by everybody else except South Africans. So we need to create equal opportunity, particularly for me, South Africans. South Africa, we have to drive to make sure that we are patriots. We give opportunities, particularly to the poor South Africans. We've got to put them ahead of everything else.
Edward Nelwembeni says, we have seen many parties being formed and then collapsing within months. People fighting for positions, they unveil manifestos and they say this, they say the other, but it doesn't take long to see the true colors of such people, and they end up collapsing the political parties that they've formed. Briefly, why do you think that your party would not go through those types of experiences that people have seen before? And I think that's what might make a few people skeptical.
Well, I think those who are skeptical, let them just study the success of nations all over the world. If you look at the Industrial Revolution and development of nations over the years, it doesn't really mean that if you fail once, you then obviously go out and commit suicide. What you've got to understand, you can ask, I think when studied the guy who developed the globe, the light that's giving us light today, Edison, how long it took him to really get this. What I'm saying is, if you've got a problem, until such time that you find a solution, you cannot afford to give up. Don't really be swayed and allow other people to determine your destiny. And keep on trying. And in fact, Tim, I grew up in an environment where first we had a government that prevented us as black people from advancing. But secondly, we had certain people in our communities who made it their duty to pull everyone down to make sure that we are all poor. And I think that's a spirit of communism and socialism, because the training behind socialist is that everyone must be the same. But the same is that they must all be poor. The only people who must enjoy the benefits are the leadership. South Africa right now, we're in a financial hole. We need to get out of this hole. And the only way we're going to get out of this hole, we've got to keep on trying until we defeat this scourge of poverty and inequality. So until such time that we've won this, we cannot really give up. And one thing I can tell those skeptics, Tim, is that life will never be perfect. It has never been perfect 1,000 years ago. It is not perfect today. And I can tell you 1,000 years to come, it'll even be more tougher. That's why we need to invest in education to prepare society to be able to deal with our challenges. We need to teach our kids to have the resolve not to give up. It doesn't really mean that if you fail today, that you go and commit suicide. You fail today, you know what? Learn from that and move on. Right now, South Africa is facing major challenges, and all of us as South Africans, we need to stand up to ensure that ultimately we see success.
Craig Bennett says free market policies and the rule of law are core functions and for a successful country to be built. And he also says the idea about electoral reform is a very useful one. And Susan wants to know why you and the former DA leader, Mmusi Maimane, are not working together.
Sometimes people have this perceptions and beliefs that people must work together. Absolutely, I think for me, it would have been lovely to really work with Mmusi. But when I engaged him about starting the People's Dialogue, he was already at a stage where he was doing his own thing. And we said, Mmusi, one day when we get an opportunity to work together, we will. But I think it is unfair for people to expect a forced marriage. And I'm sure the very same thing with how Mmusi feels. I think let's allow Mmusi to do what he's doing and allow me to do what I'm doing. But if you want a forced marriage, that's when you're really looking for disaster. Yes, it would really have been wonderful, and Mmusi, I've got lots of respect for him as a person, and I would really appreciate one day I can get an opportunity to work with him. But at the moment, he's not ready. He's got his own project that he's working on, and I really wish him everything of the best to succeed, because I know his mind, his agenda is at the right place to unseat the ANC and put in a government that can care for people of South Africa.
Ivor Fletcher wants to know, what do you think the state of the country is likely to be by the time you hope to take over governing the party? I suppose this is linked to the call you've made recently that the national elections, provincial elections, be brought forward to 2021. Now, Ivor wants to know, even if it's just local government elections, what state do you think you'll find the municipalities in then, in 2021?
In fact, it's a very, very interesting question, Tim, because honestly, as you can imagine, I've been running this People's Dialogue since December. After December, we had the lockdown, really working around the clock, working from home, putting many hours every single day to work towards unseating the ANC. And we're quite confident it is going to happen. Municipalities where we're going to contest, we are going to win them. Some of them will win them outright. Some of them will work with other parties to, as long as at the end of the day, we unseat the ANC. But I've got my biggest fear is the longer we delay in keeping ANC into power, the more danger we put in the country in, because at the rate at which ANC is stealing right now, it's shameful. It's a disgrace, where I've said actually the last few days that I'm really concerned that the longer we're going to allow ANC to be in power and allow this outright looting of state resources, by the time, if we're going to be waiting for 2024, I'm saying to South Africans, I can tell you, South Africa will not even, the government of South Africa will not even have teaspoons. You know, the rate at which they're stealing. I mean, they are stealing billions of, they are stealing food parcels. I can tell you, Tim, if we're going to wait until 2024, the government of South Africa won't even have teaspoons.
Well, sorry, I have to laugh at that. Will not have teaspoons. What did you think of the?
Let me tell you why.
Yeah.
Let me tell you why I'm saying this. You know, I've got a friend of mine. Is a economic professor. He teaches in one of the big universities in the US. It's an economic professor. He used to be one of Gorbachev's economic advisors in the late 80s, and defected to the US in 1989, being Gorbachev's economic advisor. And he relates this all the time when I listen to him. Tells you about the collapse of the Soviet Union. As an economic advisor to Gorbachev, one of the economic advisors to Gorbachev, so you can imagine he held a senior position. He said one day, you know, the rate at which people were stealing everything. One time he knew there were some paper clips in one of his cabinet. And then the following day goes, he does not even have paper clips. And he asked his personal assistant, the lady, says, I can't remember the name, he says, so-and-so, what happened, where are the paper clips? This lady was unashamedly said to this friend of mine, says, you know what else can I steal? That was the only thing I can steal from this government. And this is exactly, remember, the ANC was they were trained by the communists, by the Soviets. So that's all they know. They were trained to steal. That's why for them, knowing that it is now going towards the end, they don't really care any longer, because fortunately enough, they've captured our criminal justice system. They know they will never have consequences. But one thing for sure is that we are going to remove them from government. We are going to pursue them through private prosecution, because there's just no way as South Africans we're going to let the ANC steal us out blindly like they're doing at the moment.
Moahi says, I believe in you and your values. I'm confident that you'll save the country from the shenanigans of the governing party. You are in my prayers, and I'll support and help where I'm needed. That is Moahi. And I would like to check this question. All right, let's. Jacques van der Spey wants to know if you're prepared to form a coalition with the DA if necessary.
Well, I can tell you, Tim, even before the decision was taken to form a political party, when I started and launched the People's Dialogue, I said, in the event we have the mandate and the core values that are non-negotiable, South Africans and I agree, and we go for elections, I'm happy to work with any party in the event we don't get outright majority. The only party I will not work with is the ANC. And why I will not work with the ANC? Because ANC are not a political party, they are a criminal enterprise. So I'll work with any party, more especially at local government level. I'll work with any party as long as it's not the ANC.
Carol McDonald says, I'm concerned that you will trigger mass xenophobia with some of your utterances. While you talk about putting South Africans first, we live in a country with a multitude of other African legitimate nationals who all contribute to our economy. But the way you're framing your message, it comes across as you being against the people from other countries, African countries. How do you respond to that?
Well, I wonder the person making such a statement, where does he get this from? I think I've been very clear from the 1st of December 2016 around the rule of law, around immigration, that, you know, this country, team was built at the back of migrants. And for this country to succeed, like all other countries all over the world, migration, immigration, it's very important. But people must come into South Africa legally, and when they're here, they must respect our laws. If anyone calls this xenophobic, then I think we must then look at our constitution, because what I'm articulating, what I'm expressing is contained in our constitution as to who must come into South Africa and when they're here, how they must behave. Is that foiling xenophobia? It's a statement that people all over the world are patriots. They put their people ahead of anything else. Why should South Africa be different? It happens just a few days ago, Ghana was making sure that the Ghanaians get priority. Botswana just the other day passed another law saying certain businesses cannot be run by foreign nationals. It has happened throughout history. You can go to China. Do you think, Tim, can you go to China, in fact, get a permit to go to China and go and open to sell tomatoes on the side of the street in China? But if it's not allowed in other countries, why should South Africa be a test? And unfortunately, South Africa is not going to be a test of trying to see if we can develop an economy in an environment of chaos, because what people are articulating is chaos. And these are people who unfortunately don't have the interest of South Africa. They're being paid by these criminal syndicates to promote this anarchy. And we are not going to allow anarchy to really be the order of the day in South Africa.
Graham Collier wants to know what your thoughts are on the state of education in South Africa, and what do you think should be done to improve the quality of education. Let me add my own question to that. I'd like to hear your comments on the high unemployment rate of young South Africans below the age of 35. That we have up to 60% of them unemployed is definitely a travesty, because we live in a society where young people cannot hope nor dream nor have confidence about the futures. And we can imagine how that translates in a social setting. If you are a young person and you don't feel that you belong, then why would you uphold the laws and respect what is going on in the country? But let me hear your views on the state of education.
Well, Tim, as you are aware, the study was done a few years ago. Are you aware that 80% of public schools in this country are dysfunctional? 80% dysfunctional. Dysfunctional, why? Because the Tripartite Alliance through SADTU allowed our education to collapse. Where SADTU is actually in charge of education of our children instead of government, where teachers and principals are decided upon by SADTU, not by government. Because obviously this Tripartite Alliance is based on what the leadership actually gets. So I think we need to really do something, because SADTU and the current Tripartite Alliance has destroyed millions of lives of opportunities. You can imagine every single year, Tim, we have roughly 1 million kids starting school. 12 years later, when they write the matric, it's more than half. And more than half, when after writing, more than half of them will qualify to actually get matric exemption, where we are allowing a 30% pass rate, where SADTU and the Tripartite Alliance don't want the performance management for the teachers. And I'm saying, as a new party, the grip of SADTU and COSATU on the education of our children has to really come to an end. We choose the education of our children so that in years to come, we must really be able to allow 50% pass rate. We must make sure that every child, when we invest from ECDC centers. We don't just really focus with our children, with our youth at university level. Because right now, the type of education that our kids are getting is an education that's actually making them unemployable. That's the reason why our economy is stagnant. That's why we sit with such high unemployment, because our kids are not given the education that can prepare them to really be employers, not just employees. They can prepare them to be the best lawyers, best engineers. Unfortunately, the Tripartite Alliance, when it comes to education, it's actually one of the issues that really makes me really very angry. It's really one of the reasons, really, if I look at the reasons why today I'm a public servant, it's because of this failure, which I think for me, it's actually evil to deprive big government, to deprive your people good education. Remember how the Tripartite Alliance hated what they regard as clever blacks. How can you imagine a democratic government hating their people to be clever? Government is supposed to be encouraging, making sure that you allow your citizens and your residents to fly, allow them to really go to the moon. But unfortunately, the Tripartite Alliance hates clever blacks. It is for that reason why ANC today is a rural party taking advantage of T-shirts and food parcels, but they can never win the support in the metros and in the urban areas. And well, people in the community, even in the rural areas, have now discovered them, because now today with the pandemic that you are facing, they are stealing their food parcels.
Evelyn Hansfeld wants to know how you are going to educate the public on the voting system, and how you are going to encourage and motivate people to participate in the electoral system.
Well, I think I would request the person posing that question that this project is not the Herman Mashaba project. This is a project for all 55, 60 million South Africans. If each one of us can take the responsibility to ensure that your family members, your neighbors, people in your street are educated around knowing the power that they have in voting. The 19 million South Africans that of a voting age that are not voting. Let it not be Herman Mashaba's project. Let it be a project for you. If you are aware that people are not voting, make it your own personal mission to get them to understand that South Africa is facing a very, very dangerous virus called the ANC. And the vaccine for destroying this virus called the ANC is by people going out to vote. So go out, tell people that you are the vaccine that can destroy this virus called the ANC, and it's by voting. So it is not just really my own individual response. I mean, Herman Mashaba's project. Let it all be a project for all of us. So you can imagine if you go around, start with your own family members. Go to the guy next door, go to the street, go to your family members somewhere, at work. Discuss this issue, how we can find a vaccine to destroy this virus called the ANC.
Bianda Magua says, wants to know how you're going to deal with the chiefs and the kings, the traditional leaders. Are you going to continue paying them their monthly fees or monthly salaries, and some, of course, and multi-millions of rands? What is your view of the role of traditional leaders and the incomes that they earn?
I think traditional leaders have got a crucial role to play in our society. They've been there, obviously, I think, before colonialism came into our shores, and I think we've got to respect them. As long as they are genuine leaders and they are there to serve their societies, we have to really work with them. But what they must understand is that they don't serve people on the basis of political patronage. They must serve society on the basis of serving society. Because if you're a traditional leader, everyone who belongs to your community is your subject. If they operate in that way, we are happy to really work with them accordingly. But at the end of the day, that because we live in a constitutional democracy, public reps are elected by the people. But we do still believe that there is space for traditional leaders to play a ceremonial role.
And your reaction to the fact that President Cyril Ramaphosa wrote a 7-page letter to members of the ANC and said that they should step down, or else something might happen, and say, you know, he's beginning to use strong language referring to them as hyenas and scavengers. Do you think that that's going to help reduce levels of corruption within the public system?
Tim, I don't know if you remember a week before the elections last year at the Constitutional Hill, I warned South Africans who are going to vote for Cyril Ramaphosa. I said, if you vote this man into power, I can assure you 18 to 24 months' time, you're going to be calling for Jacob Zuma back. I don't know if you remember that statement because it was covered quite extensively by the media. You remember that statement made? And the reason why I made that statement is because the ANC people don't have respect for Cyril Ramaphosa. They put him there because they know he's the person who's indecisive. That's why looting under him is worse than under Jacob Zuma, because no one knows that there are no consequences. He's a PR man. He wants to please everybody. And what happens in the process? Our country is being looted left, right, and center. Corruption under his role, under his leadership, is worse than it was under Jacob Zuma. That's why some of the people in the ANC are already calling for his head. Already less than 18 months into his term.
Well, you have said some strong things in recent times, talking about capital punishment having to be considered in the case of certain types of crimes. And this has led to people to label you as anti-constitutionalist, as a populist and a conservative person who is a danger to South Africa for proposing that capital punishment be reintroduced.
I don't know how anyone can ever have such thought. You've got to have a criminal mind to actually think like that, because I'm not really concerned about the victims. And this is a personal view, and I respect our constitution. I know that for us to reintroduce capital punishment, it will require constitutional amendments and have 2/3 majority in parliament. So, but that does not stop me as Herman Mashaba to have my personal view that on first-degree murder, all these people who are raping women, young children, I don't personally believe that I want to give them a second chance to rape again, because I know in South Africa in particular, put them in jail a few years down the line, they're going to come back and commit more crime. In the meantime, we're a country that we're sitting with what, 54% before COVID, we're sitting with 54% poverty. 54% of our people living under poverty line. Now tell me, do you think I can sleep knowing that I'm supporting a beast in prison, giving them the place to sleep, giving them 3 meals a day? In the meantime, I'm not in a position to support a child in Alexander or in Ramutsi in Amanskraal, to give them an opportunity to go to school. I can tell you, for me, I will not really lose a sleep. If there's such a beast, I take them out of society. But that's my personal view.
We talk about what is going on in the government and corruption and all of those things that many South Africans are unhappy about. But when you look around in our communities, we see a lot of public infrastructure being vandalized, and one wonders who is behind that. Railway lines being uprooted, electricity lines being messed around with, and a whole lot of public property being destroyed, including schools. What is your view about that? I mean, what needs to happen? Why have we come to this point? We've reached this level where we destroy our own public infrastructure.
Well, it's because of the breakdown of the rule of law. It's our morality as in our value system. When society that is hungry, society that is poor, society that deprived of getting opportunities to advance themselves, but they see their political leaders looting openly, what do? They know, you know what, I've got to support my family. And people obviously take a chance, knowing that chances of being caught are less than 80%. And even if I get caught, chances of coming out are another 90%. Even if I'm caught and sentenced, I know in a few years down the line I'll come back, because the prisons are so full. Our government today releasing prisoners is not because they're doing this because they've got a good heart. They're doing this because our prisons are full. They don't have space any longer. So that's why they keep recycling these criminals coming back, causing more and more harm in our communities. And what happens? We end up with a society with no morals, with no consciousness, because we have the leadership that has got no conscience whatsoever.
Your views on the role played by the unions in policy formulation in the country. You have referred to SATU at one point, but at NEDLAC, for instance, COSATU and other unions are represented there, and they decide which policies the country should follow. Do you think that they are hampering in any way the growth of the economy? Should they be treated differently than they are now, or do you regard the unions as partners in helping grow the South African economy?
Well, I think unions in any society, they've got a crucial role to play. But in our particular case in South Africa, COSATU has been responsible for the underperformance of our economy. They've been responsible for job losses because they came into power with it as a tripartite alliance, started destroying jobs, started physically closing one business after the other. So under our new government, COSATU will be treated like any other civil society organization, because we're going to be the party that listens to people. And COSATU will not get any special treatment. They'll be treated like anyone else, because for our government to really be able to operate, we've got to listen to people. Ordinary South Africans, unemployed, employed, and so forth, will listen to everyone. But COSATU will never get special treatment with our government.
Janet Ross Thompson says, how are you going to fix the transport system, or how do you think it should be fixed? And let me add another question to that, the public healthcare system. Let me put them together. Start with Janet Ross Thompson's question.
Well, I think our public transport system is a disaster. We've allowed our rail network to be destroyed every single day. I mean, the trains that our people are using, I can tell you, most of those trains are actually older than I am. I just turned 61 today. I remember growing up visiting my family in Soweto, new trains. Those are the same trains that are still running today, be in Durban, be everywhere else. But at the same time, when this new tripartite alliance came into power, the first thing that they wanted to, that they put the biggest investment was on what? On the arms deal. When South Africa was the darling of the world, we are not facing any threat of any war. We needed hospitals, we needed the transport system, we needed houses for people, but they decided to invest money in the arms deal. And how much of that money is stolen? And look at most of the, go and do the audit of the equipment that is bought. Some of it's still brand new, but how many years, 10 years ago, it's never been really used. In the meantime, our people don't have transport to travel. In a conducive kind of environment. We're relying on the taxi in industry as the cheapest mode of transport, when we should really be having the best railway network. That's why they invested in the How Train as one of their first projects. Doing for what? For the elite, and also corruption. Corruption of the Sandton station. You know where that piece of land where the Sandton How Train is lying? That piece of land donated to the Guptas for free by the city of Johannesburg. So you can imagine if this money was taken to really build a proper rail network throughout the country, particularly for the poorest of the poor, so that they don't really have to be subjected to using 3-4 taxis at a time. At the same time, you know what, in terms of special planning, in the city of Johannesburg, I can give that as an example. Our people put in 60, 70 kilometers away from job opportunities. Put in Orangeville, you know. People have to use 2, 3, 4 taxis to really get to work. People use more than half of their salaries on transport on a daily basis, because this government decided they're going to invest in armaments, and the armaments where they know more than half of that money went into them. And any consequences, we only know of Tony Yengeni is the only one who went to jail and actually escorted by government officials to prison. He's the only person that we know that got punished for the arms deal. And senior politicians in this country escorted him to prison.
Greg De Castro says, we've been waiting for an authentic leader such as yourself. I'll be voting for you, hoping that you'll make the necessary changes that we're all crying out for. Monique Martinez says, it is fabulously refreshing to have someone state things so clearly. I wholeheartedly support Mr. Mashaba's views and policies. Still, there are people who are, again, concerned, Mr. Herman Mashaba, that it looks like this is a one-man party. They haven't heard of other leaders who are with you, or whether they will emerge from somewhere. It is an unknown thing. If anything, there have been one or two people come from the DA and join you, and others from the ANC, which leads people to think that, is this really a genuine political party, or is it likely to be hijacked? Because it seems to be formed around one person. Do others who are with you share the views, the values, the principles that you espouse?
Tim asked people to be patient. When I launched this, people initially was the engagement. And now we've got the feedback of 2.4 million South Africans. I've just said to you right now, earlier on, we've got volunteers, just under 60,000 by yesterday. Probably today we're already over 60 of them. Going to social media, look at what our people are doing on the ground. We are not a party of celebrities. We are not a party of beauty queens and men of the big names. We're a party of ordinary South Africans. Wait until we expose some of our party structures on Saturday when we launch our constitution, the name of our party, and so forth. But we're not a party of celebrities. We're a party based on the foundation of serving society. And serving society does not really need celebrities. Serving society needs people who are committed to public service.
All right, as we conclude, reveal the colors of the political party or the name, give a hint of what's happening there. Are you prepared to do that? I can tell you what I think I see. It looks like green is going to be the dominant color. Anyway, that's what I've seen, but I'm not sure about the name of the political party.
Tim, we're 3 days away, and fortunately enough, the event is not going to be long. 10 o'clock sharp, we start. By 11:45, we'll be done. South Africa will be knowing the name of the party, our logos, our constitution. By 12 o'clock will be on our website. Our manifesto, our blueprint will be on our website for South Africans to interrogate. But when it comes more especially to our blueprint and our manifesto, we are still going to engage, because we really had a privilege of getting professional South Africans assisting us to put together this manifesto, this blueprint, because we invited the experts in the various fields, be retired judges, retired policemen and women, retired teachers, and some of them still in the service. We brought in economists, we brought in business people, small and big, to assist us to put together this blueprint that I will be unveiling on Saturday. By 12 o'clock sharp, it will be live on our website. So we only have 3 days to wait. Just be patient. And the big job is not going to be the launch of an unveiling of the party. It's going to be then what do we do then to unseat this virus. So we need to mobilize South Africans to get them to really know that we need a vaccine to destroy this virus.
Herman Mashaba, thank you very much for being part of this discussion and being my guest on this webinar. I enjoyed and appreciated your time. Thank you. And I also want to thank all the
Thank you so much,
attendees.
Tim, and thank you to your team, and thank you to all the listeners and all who participated, asking and really being concerned to sympathize with their concerns, because I'm doing this job because I'm a concerned South African. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Appreciate it. And this is how we come to the end of our webinar today. So you had him here on biznews.com on Saturday. He says 10 o'clock. That's when he will be unveiling everything. And from us, have a great day and goodbye.
Thank you.